to get back on their feet. We're headed to Los Angeles right now, and we're going to be joined by Sarah C. Sarah, good morning. Thanks so much for getting up way too early out there.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good morning.
Yeah. Sarah, just let's start out. Just tell me about your background, and before we really get into this book. And I played Billy Joel, We Didn't Start the Fire. You've gone through the fire a little bit in your life, and we're going to be talking about going through that fire and overcoming, and things to watch out for people who want to get into business, for people who want to do something like write a book. A lot of things to discuss, but let's find out more about Sarah this morning. Tell us about growing up and some experiences you had in your life.
Sure. Yeah, I was born in Hong Kong. I came to America, Los Angeles, when I was 18, for college. And fast forward in 2004, my late father and I founded the company TSE Worldwide Press, which is a publishing and printing company in Los Angeles. And by the third year, we went from, it's just a startup, by the third year, we were already doing $5 million. As a small business, it was a lot of money. And then, by 2011, I had one business situation and one former client who was a very good client. They have a new executive team that came on board. They do business differently, and they defaulted on $1.3 million. So, and after not being able to settle the case in 3 months, I had to file my first lawsuit. And then things just started happening, and it lasted for 7 years, different business-related situations, including my health. I was misdiagnosed for cancer. I was treated as a cancer patient for 5 months. It turned out it was not. So 3 years after that, now I'm still here. The company is much stronger and better. I'm now a mentor and speaker at university. So my life perspective is a little bit different, after 7 years. I'm using my experience and lessons to educate other business owners and also business students in college.
Wow, okay, Sarah, that's it. We have nothing more to say. You covered a lot of ground right there, but I have so many questions about, you came to the United States from Hong Kong. What about educational opportunities in Hong Kong? Did you come to the United States because there really just weren't the educational opportunities there, or because you wanted to experience the United States and the opportunities that were here?
Education in Hong Kong is very good. I think it was more the experience. And when I was growing up, I was going to a church that there were a lot of American kids, and I became good friends with some of them. And one of my best friends, we grew up together. She's an American. So when she came here 1 year before me, she wrote me a letter every week, persuading me to come to join her in college. So, which I did. So it was more an influence, by my friends who are already, here, and also my desire to want to get that experience, outside of Hong Kong.
And did you? When's the last time you were back in Hong Kong?
It was 2 years ago. That's when the protest in Hong Kong just started at the beginning. Yeah, it's like more than 2 years ago now.
Yeah. Are you? How concerned are you about what is happening in Hong Kong now and their the relationship with China? And you can probably put a good perspective on that for us.
I would say, speaking on behalf of the people I know, they appreciate the peace that we have, that they have right now, because there was so much destruction and chaos during the time when there was a protest. I think, overall, it is safer, it's more calm. I know that, everyone has to be more cautious, about, sharing the opinions, especially, related to politics. And I think people are more mindful, but I think, just having the peace is what people are just enjoying right now, that they didn't have, 2 years ago.
Do you feel inhibited? Does it concern you when you are doing interviews such as this and talking about your life and about growing up in the past and your ancestry and everything? That you have to be somewhat guarded about what you say about the Chinese government. Is that a concern for someone like you, even?
Yes, I have to, but for me, I'm not into, politics. I'm just sharing my opinion. I have family, in Hong Kong, and I have to be mindful, just for the considerations. So, yes, I do. I have to be more considerate, of my family, when I share doing interviews.
Your ancestry, though. Are you someone who enjoys going back and looking at your ancestry? And I think we all would assume that someone like you would really have a deep caring about your ancestry, and that you would know a lot. You would go back for centuries into your past and know what was there, and the stocks kind of that you came from, and the people that were in your past, in your family. Is that true with you?
Oh, I love, going back, to my hometown in China. Even though I grew up in Hong Kong, my parents also grew up in Hong Kong, but on my father's side, we actually have a museum in our own hometown, with manuscript and documentation and also autograph, of that were collected, and they were discovered, when the government was using one of the grave sites, for industrial building. So my family were able to find out of the root. We're actually originally from Mongolia, and we were warriors escaping from war, escaped from Mongolia, and ended up residing in South China, where is my hometown right now. We still have a home in China. I think, being able to visit the museum to know more about all our ancestors, it's just very fascinating to me. We have a lot of scholars that may explain why I love reading. I like books. So in my family, there are like people who are in the law enforcement, the scholar, and also in business. So they were like in 100 years ago. That's what my ancestors did.
Oh, your family got it, didn't they? As generation to generation moved, your family from Mongolian warrior to realizing, as the world was changing, the things that they could do to be successful, to help society along. Your family got it.
Yes, we are very blessed, to do what we are doing now. I would say my TSC family, they're all doing really well in Hong Kong, and also some immigrated to other countries. So we were poor. We were literally escaping from a country that was in war. But after we settled in South China, opportunity came, and they grappled the opportunity, and everyone has been doing really well.
Have you been the subject of persecution because of your religious beliefs? Because I grew up in Hong Kong. Hong Kong had a different system, but now it's different now. And I haven't gone back since the new law came into effect yet. So I don't know in what extent. Now, I grew up in a high, I was educated in high school there. It was a Christian high school. So it's, I don't see there's any change there. Just based on my conversation with some of the teachers I feel, I have conversation with. Not so much in Hong Kong, but I think, if I do something, like more
more vocal in the public, I think that will be a problematic.
You were educated in a Catholic elementary school, and there were some learning problems that you had early on. I sense that for every Sarah C., that there are 1,000 girls like you who never got the chance to do what you have been able to do. Is that true?
I would say so. That's why, I share about my childhood. I was born with a lung disease. I was in hospital for 9 months. So when I came out, I was way behind from other kids who were my age. I didn't even know how to swallow properly. I didn't know how to walk until later on. When I was in the elementary school, I was very withdrawn from other kids. So I think, I was very blessed to have two great parents. They were really involved in just helping me through the process. And when I was enrolled in a Catholic elementary school, one of my teachers had a talk with my mom, and he told my mom, that Sarah was very special. She's very talented. But that time I was still having trouble learning. I have this learning disability. I remember I have to go to therapy every now and then on a regular basis because I just couldn't read, couldn't write. But my elementary teacher told my mom, to really nurture me. So my mom took me to a lot of classes and therapy, to help me overcome that disability, learning disability. So by sharing my story, I want to encourage all the parents, don't give up to your children just because they have some level of disability. I have overcome it, and now, I have been able to accomplish a lot of things that I never thought of. I think just being persevere, that my parents persevere with me, and now I'm the byproduct of what they sacrificed for me.
Mm. Our guest this morning is Sarah C. It's T-S-E, that last name. And her book is Frontline, 7 years on the front line. In fact, it's a fascinating story, and it's a quick read, which a lot of people are going to like this day and time when it seems like we never have enough time for anything. The problems that Sarah encountered in early life, you only know about it if you read every word. She does not kind of focus in on, woe is me, look at what I've overcome, or anything like that. But that is a part of the story, and it's an important part of the story because, lady, you had to have a lot of grit to overcome and make it through those early years, and you had to have help, but you had to have a lot of tenacity about yourself and grit to want to overcome. And I just want, as you think back, when you were going through these things as a child, where did you draw your inspiration to be able to, keep moving forward as you did?
I would say, of course, my Christian faith, but my earthly late father also played a part. I was very close to him, even until the day he passed away. He was my business mentor, and he, in 2004, when we founded TSE, he was really mentoring me, from the ground. So, I have to contribute to him, for all the success, that I have been able to accomplish. And I think just having very encouraging parents, and also my grandma, who passed away when I was in my 20s, they always gave me, words of affirmation, encouraging me. Yeah, I had all this disability when I was a child, but they were always affirming my ability, to do something that were yet, to happen. My father, he had cancer when he was in his 50s, but he ended up living for 15 years. And one of the comments he made, he would say, he's very positive. He would say he could have died, 15 years ago, but instead, he lived another 15 years. For him, it was a gain. he died very early, 57. So, and it was a very painful death, but at the end, of his last breath, he still had this very positive attitude, he was able to see a lot of things his children have accomplished, his grandchildren. So it was a gain for him, even though he died young. So I think, my resilience, my perseverance, and also positivity, came from my father.
Yeah. Let's not leave your mom out, because I'm amazed at the story of her, someone without a high school education, a seamstress and a homemaker, but educated herself enough to understand foreign currencies and the exchange rates, and use that to help provide enough money for you to be able to become educated the way you have been.
Exactly. My mom is amazing. Yeah, she is also very resilient. She came from a very wealthy family. After marrying my father, things are a little bit different. My father was not wealthy. He didn't come from a wealthy family. As a matter of fact, he lost both of his parents during the World War II. So my father grew up without having parents. But I think once he had children, his own family, he just loved us. He nurtured us. He was very involved as a dad. My mom did the same way. Yeah, my mom is a very committed wife. So I, just applaud her. I think for me, I'm emotionally very positive, still very loved, growing up. I have to contribute a big part, of her just being such a nurturing mother. So I think, I'm just, looking back. So I grew up having two parents who were very involved in my life, and I think I'm just the product of the person I am today.
I'm thinking that I may be talking with one of the few women in the world who is an artist, who plays the piano, and who, I don't want to cross her because she knows Judo. That's a kind of a unique combination, don't you think?
Yes. My father put all the girls to Judo class. I think you probably can figure out, he wanted us to be able to defend ourselves when we came across situations, like being attacked. So he gave us a lot of life skills growing up. So Judo was one of the things that he put all the girls. My brother never wanted to go through that, so he didn't really impose on that, but all the girls have to go through Judo classes. But I was the one who was there the longest.
It's the more I really think about this, this is even a more remarkable story, I think, than I first thought, because the twists and turns. But when you talk about resilience, that's kind of your byword. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be buried in a grave where there'll be a tombstone, but they should put on it when you die. This lady was resilient. Even after coming to this country, you got down to where you were essentially flat broke in 1993. I mean, we're talking about less than 3 decades ago. You had to think about it if you wanted to go to McDonald's to get a hamburger or not. And talk about coming from that point to where you are now. I realize we can't do that all in one fell swoop, but let's begin at least at that point, because that's I think the important beginning of the book is right there at that point, 1993, when you reach in your pocket and you say, there's not much here. Maybe I need to do something about that.
Yes, I graduated from Biola University in May 1993, and I remember my uncle from Hong Kong and his then girlfriend was visiting me. So I took them, to Vegas. And by the end of the trip, I remember I only had $40. That was like my life saving, my entire life. So that was the point that I realized I needed to do something. So what I did, even though I just received my undergrad degree from the university, I started, started taking business classes about investment. So I enrolled myself to Cal State Fullerton, and I took one semester, I think 2 classes about investment. And that's when I got to know about some of the investment strategy from Peter Lynch. And I think I read over 10 books. So within a very short time, I taught myself, just like what my mother did, invested in the stock market. Now, that time, American Online, Amazon, and also Yahoo, nobody knew who they were. So I was one of the first pool of investors who invested in that stock. So within the very short time, I was able to make a lot of money. That was enough for me to purchase my first home. So I think, just being curious and finding solution, I was broke, but I was very proactive in finding a solution, how to cure my situation of being broke. So I don't let that to deter me, from, moving forward. So by enrolling myself, to classes, really helped me to educate myself to learn about investment.
And then you got really involved in graphic design. What was the motivation there?
I always loved art. When I was growing up, every weekend, my parents would take me to art festival, to paint, to draw with other kids. So I think that was the early on. My father got me art supplies, because there were 4 kids in the family. I recall that he would get me art supplies, secretly and hand it to me, because he didn't want my other sibling to know that he was getting me art supplies when they did not get anything after he came home from work. So he was encouraging me to do art, early on. So that's what I did when I enrolled in college. So when I just love being creative. And I think for most part, just when there's a piece of blank paper, how can I turn a blank piece of paper to something interesting for people to look at, extremely creative and innovative. So I think I enjoy the aspect from creating something from nothing. And that something is that people can enjoy, to look at.
It's not just like completely overnight, but you're building a body of work, aren't you? You are building in your mind and in your abilities, just kind of piece by piece the things, and just but the big thing at this point in your life is making the next move the right move. And your dad helped, didn't he?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. Right now, at this point in my life, my father is very big about education. I remember when he passed away in 2010, the day at his funeral, he had so many people came and paid tribute to him. Because for all the people who even heard about his passing came to the funeral, they was not even connect to my family. But there are a lot of people who received his mentorship came, to pay respect. So I'm kind of doing something similar right now. I love reading and writing, and that's why I choose to write. That's why I choose to be a mentor and speaker and a business coach at university. And this month, I just released my second book, which is geared to help young professionals and college graduates to experience career success after graduation. So I am focusing on my legacy project. So in my company, I have young professionals and I have senior staff. So, and throughout the year, I will have interns, mentees who come through the company to experience on the ground level what it is like being in business. So I think, right now my next move is I'm doing what I'm doing, just using my experience, to educate the next generation of business leaders. So I'll continue to write more books, continue to mentor new business leaders. So that's what my focus, and my company continue to expand, and I'm just waiting, for, let's see what the opportunity, becomes available, but as far as I know right now, we'll just continue to move forward with the business.
Mm. Again, for the audience, Sarah, with the help of her parents, established TSE Worldwide Press Incorporated, and from 2004 to 2007, in a 3-year period, this operation is bringing in revenue in excess of $4 million, and you even had a branch of the business. How many siblings do you have?
I have 3.
And you involved them in this project?
Correct. Early on in the company, yeah.
What were they just sitting waiting for you to ask? How difficult was it for you to convince them that they wanted to be a part of this?
I think it was very natural. My father was a leader. Family was number one for him. When we have we treat it as a family project. So it was very natural. My younger sibling, my brother and sister, they just jumped right into helping this business. So we're all doing this together, and my mother was also involved. So it was not just me, so they were involved in the manufacturing process when I was when I focused on a business expansion. So I don't think I would be able to achieve that level of success, financial success, without the help.
I'm really fascinated with the timeline of these things happening. And in 2009, goodness, when did you first come to the United States? In what year?
1989.
89. So it was 20 years after you first came to the United States and you became a U.S. citizen.
Yes.
Why was that important to you? And talk about the process that you went through to gain citizenship here in the United States.
It was a very long process. As you see, 20 years. I applied submitted my green card application at my second job, which I was there for 8 years. But during the whole 8 years, I started off with applying my work permit, because I was an international student. So after I got my second job, I was able to transfer my student visa to a work permit. And very shortly after that, I applied my green card application, but it got delayed for some reason, INS would relate to me the lost document. So it happened during the 8 years. So I never was able to get my green card through my second employment. So after that, my book talks about I established my first partnership. So it was through that partnership company, which I owned, that I used that to continue my green card petition. Within 3 months, I got it. With the help of Congressman Gary Miller. I still remember him. Without him, I would not have received my green card within 3 months after being delayed for 8 years. So I went to his office. He was in Diamond Bar. He went to my church, Calvary Chapel, Golden Spring, and he was introduced to me by one of the usher at church. And then after we connected, he involved one of his staff at his office to talk to someone at INS. And it happened that one of his staff used to work there at the same division who was processing my paperwork. So that's why I was able to get it within 3 months. So after that, after green card, you have to keep that status, I believe 5 years. And after that, I, filed my own paperwork for my U.S. citizenship. So the whole process was very smooth, during my petition for my U.S. citizenship. So it was a long process, but I think I didn't give up. It was also, that I was able to persevere through the process, especially the 8 years delay. But I got it. Looking back, and I'm so glad I didn't just give up, but continue to move forward and to find the right person who could help me. And I found Gary Miller, who helped me with my green card.
Fascinating. Gary Miller, by the way, for the audience, was a Republican congressman from California who served, I don't know, for not quite 2 decades, and has only been out of Congress probably for, I don't know, 21, maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, but was really became a very solid force in California. I mean, to be a conservative in California and be elected was not always easy, but he did it in multiple times, and was highly respected among the people in Congress. He was extremely well thought of. Now I guess we see why he was willing to help his constituents.
Yeah, I was just a small guy. He was very involved, very concerned. So I'm just so grateful, for the help I received from him personally and also from his staff.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question here that doesn't have anything to do with your book or the discussion. This is just for my personal interest because of something I've already talked about this morning. And I wonder about, people who have come from, another country, another place to here, and then they become a citizen, and about what we have taught them. Does the name Woodrow Wilson mean anything to you?
Can you tell me more about?
Woodrow Wilson was an American president. And I don't want to tell you the time frame because I don't want to give that away. I wonder about the extent of the process of what, where the educational world would take someone such as you coming to this country, and what we would, how we would educate and teach them in terms of history is what I'm getting at, really. And there is no, your inability to answer, to say that you know anything about Woodrow Wilson is not I don't see that as a negative at all. I just ask it because, I have my own wondering about what we're teaching to someone who would be seeking citizenship and who would have come from. Anyway, Woodrow Wilson was the U.S. president during World War I, and was the first president to go outside the country to actually travel to Europe to be involved in peace meetings there in Paris back after World War I. Anyway, that's. I'm going to move on from there because I feel like I treated you unfairly, like I was asking you a trick question that I thought you couldn't answer.
No problem. Yeah, I should have known the answer. Especially, I remember I had to study about American history when I applied for the citizenship. So I apologize, I didn't have the answer for you.
Oh no, please no, no apology at all is necessary. Let's talk about United Yearbook and how you came up with this idea and really what United Yearbook is all about.
Yes, between 2 years before I founded United Yearbook in 2008, my TSC company started receiving a lot of inquiries and some projects on yearbook publishing. And I came across one gentleman who was a yearbook rep for one of the biggest yearbook company, and he approached me, came to my office, took samples, and we even have a business meeting in Las Vegas with another printing partner. We were going to help this gentleman to launch his new yearbook business because he was leaving his big yearbook company. So, and then it ended up that he wanted me to invest in his company. So at the end of the meeting, we thought we have contract of about 1,000 schools that he claimed that he was going to give us for a procurement of printing, but he didn't have any school. He was just starting up. So I helped him, for the entire year to get him sample, get him photos. He even came to my California office to take pictures and post it on his website. So I waited for 1 year, nothing happened. And it turned out that he started a business, but he ended up procuring the printing to another company in Canada. So, and of course, I felt betrayed. I felt used. I asked him to return all my samples. He refused. I never heard anything from him. So, and I have a dream in January 2008. and it was so bizarre. In the dream, God gave me the word United Yearbook. And then there was even, he even told me that you don't need him. So it was the same when I woke up that morning. I went to the recorder office in my county and tried to search if United Yearbook was available. And it was that time. So I immediately registered that name. So that's how it happened, the name. And then how I started my yearbook company because of the gentleman from the big yearbook publishing company in the U.S. And so the name came from a dream.
Mm. Yeah. How many yearbooks are we talking about? How many yearbooks would you publish in a year?
I don't count so I would say on an average, I do about 200 to 300. Different graduation, for schools, and also, for other organizations. Because yearbook is not only limited to school, but also, for example, police department. We did the LAPD anniversary yearbook a couple years.
Wow.
So among the police department, they also have their own yearbook. So I was given the opportunity to start doing police department yearbook, 3 years ago, through referral. Because by now, my company has built a reputation. If a school is looking for something very innovative, so United Yearbook will be the right company, to go with. Because I am willing to go through the extra miles to do a creative yearbook that other big guys do not want to touch, because I think first it requires more time. You don't generate profit, quickly. But I'm willing to go through that extra step and miles, to generate a creative yearbook that the teacher and the student want.
Mm. Give us an idea of something that you feel like, well, this is a creative idea that we have done in the yearbook industry that other people are now copying, or that they probably should be copying. This is an innovation that has really put United Yearbook before the public and made us a really not so much. You could be a national company, really, but you don't need to be, do you? I mean, there is so much work right there where you are on the West Coast. How far-reaching are you?
I'm focusing on California. My objective, my business objective, shifted, 3 years ago. So just in California, there's just a lot of business, in the yearbook market. So my business goal right now is to saturate the market before we expand to other regions. So now I used to have yearbook a broker who worked for my company, in Canada and also the East Coast. But I no longer, provide services to that region, but just focus in California. And as far as one of my very creative yearbook project I did, about 2 years ago, I met a yearbook advisor from a school in California. His name is Eric Hartman from St. Anne's School. And he was a true innovator. He still is, but he's no longer a yearbook advisor this year. He was the one who was trying to do double sequin. Double sequin, usually you see that, on fabric, on t-shirt, right? Or on jacket. But he wanted, to have it done on a yearbook. And he approached a few yearbook companies, including the biggest yearbook company. They all told him it cannot be done. It is impossible. So when I met him, and that was the first innovation that he wanted to incorporate, and I told him that's not a problem. So that required some R&D, on my part, but I was able to turn his idea into a reality, an actual piece. So incorporate double sequin, on the yearbook was one of my creative projects that I collaborated with him. And then the second year, he did a surfboard yearbook. A yearbook, when you open the cover, it can be extended, to be a mini surfboard that you can actually place a fin on it. You can step on it as if you are surfing. So that's the type of work that I enjoy doing as far as the yearbook. But I think it also depends on the yearbook advisors, how far they want to go are willing to go to be creative and innovative. Of course, the teacher also got the student involved, and that's what his student wanted, and he was able to help his students to accomplish the dream, from an idea to a actual manufactured printed yearbook.
Mm-hmm. Our guest, Sarah C. T-S-E, the spelling of that last name, 7 years on the front line, and we haven't talked about the legal problems. I sense that any lawyer worth their weight in salt who would read this book would say, "Oh, thanks so much, Sarah," because I think the main thing that I feel like you point out, really, if I was going to say one thing to realize that everybody needs to know from reading this book, no matter whether you're going to get into business or just in your private everyday life, that lawyers are tools. They are not the end all. Lawyers are not going to take your place. They're going to assist you. You need to look at the legal profession in a little bit different way, maybe, than just saying, well, I'm going to throw up my hands. I'm going to hand the keys to the car over to the attorney, and they're going to take care of everything. That's not the way it was meant to be, and that's certainly not the way it is, right?
Exactly. They are tools. They should not be in a position to make decisions on your behalf or on the behalf of your company. Yeah, exactly what you just said. Just like I think I apply the same principle in running my business. Do not let consultants to manage your employees. I still have to be very involved in my relationship with my employees. It can never be replaced, or allow someone to run the company unless, I step down from my executive position, then it will be off my hands in terms of the day-to-day operation. Otherwise, me as an owner, I still need to be very involved, whether it's a legal decision or it's a business decision.
Are there things in your past? And by the way, the book is a beautiful book. I mean, your publishing company published this book, so I mean, if you publish this book, did you design all of this? I mean, the cover is that your design?
Yes, guess what? It was an inspiration from the movie John Wick, and I was on my way back from Hong Kong. That was my last time in Hong Kong, and I was on a plane with Cathay Pacific, and I watched several movies of Keanu Reeves, and it was a new movie, John Wick, and I looked at the poster. Oh my goodness, I just could not get it off my mind. So the cover originally was completely different. So the fire, putting my picture in the middle, and also the logo is the inspiration, of the movie John Wick. I feel I could relate to part of the story because, in the movie, he was constantly being pursued. People wanted to kill him or take him down. So I would say it's inspiration from the movie. Yes, I immediately changed the design. I was involved in putting it all together, using Photoshop, which I'm very proficient, in this software. And also the printing, because I'm a printer, I need to have a product that would represent what I do. So it was a business decision. Because of this book, I have been able to generate additional contracts from independent publishers. They want the exact material, especially the paper. The paper that I use for my book is a very high quality paper with high opacity and bulkiness. So it is also a marketing piece now. It was done with intention that I use all the good material, on the production of the book.
Yeah, and if you're going to use, high quality, more expensive paper, it would say to anyone, be concise in what you write. Don't be flowery. Get it said. Get it done. Don't take 5 pages to what can be said in one. And in this type of book, I think that is so important in what you have done to make this not. This is not a wordy book. This is a book that kind of gets right to the points that you want to make. But I also wanted the content of the cover of this book. This is a hardback book that I'm holding right now, but at the same time, the makeup of this hardback is different than what we used to think of hardbacks, isn't it?
Yes, you see the shape is instead of, like a regular size 5.5 by 8.5, in which most of the books in memoir, the shape's a little bit more standard. The size of my book is 7 by 10, which is very different, because I purposely do that because it makes my book stand out on the bookshelf. And also, the number of treatment usually hardcover bound book, just matte or gloss lamination with one heat embossing or debossing. That's it. But I put spot UV embossing, debossing, matte lamination, on the front and the back of the book, so that makes the book, stand out, from the other book covers. So yes, and also it is Smith-sewn. Most of the books are done, use glue to bind the pages. I use Smith-sewing to bind all my books, whether they're paperback or hardcover. So that's why that the books I make, we call the library bounding. They are made to last. So after multiple handling, it will not fall apart. In which I see a lot of books, like special yearbooks, they fall apart, after a number of years. But the books that I produce with Smith-sewing, they hold together, for a long time, unless someone literally tears the pages out from the yearbook.
Well, the University of Kentucky Press, several books that they have done recently are of the same type of backing that I find that I really like. It's a new durability. It withstands. You don't need a book cover on this cover, do you? There's no reason to have a cover over the book as we used to think of a lot of hardbacks doing, because if I spill something on this cover, I'm just going to wipe it off. I think it's not going to be.
Oh, you're talking about a Dutch jacket?
Yes.
Dutch jacket is actually a marketing piece that is, more expensive. I just signed in a contract for multiple books that the author is the self-publisher, that they want to have this jacket because, like, who knows, maybe the person who purchased the book wants to frame the Dutch jacket as a,
sure,
for display. So, of course, with a Dutch jacket, it will be more affordable. It will be less expensive.
Yeah. This book doesn't need that. It really doesn't.
No, it does not. Yeah.
Oh, it's very innovative. I'm so glad that we have had you as a guest. Time is about out because of the innovation that I think you are bringing to the publishing industry, and the name Sarah C. might be one that those of us here in the eastern part of the United States never really hear from, except like this, when in reality you're doing such exceptional things for people in California, for the people who need yearbooks and want it to be done in a terrific fashion. You are doing that. I sense the sky's the limit for your company, isn't it?
It is. That's how I share with my young professional mentees. The sky is the limit. As long as we don't give up and keep moving forward, and with God's help, we can accomplish anything. There's no limit, under the sky.
If I was 30 years old, I would want to become your eastern part of the United States representative and start marketing what you're doing here in this part of the country, because again, you're only limited by the people that you bring on board and the way you expand your business, because it would be hard to compete, I think, with what you're doing from anyone else. And I commend you for that. This is a book that for any, particularly for young women, would be terrific. But really, male or female, anyone is going to be inspired buy this book, 7 Years on the Front Line, Sarah C. And I assume this book is available. Where is it best to find this book?
On my website, Sarah Y TSE, and also Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Very good. Sarah, keep up the terrific work. Congratulations on everything that you have accomplished so far. It's quite impressive, the work that you're doing, and I will look for any opportunity to see things that are coming from TSE Worldwide Press Incorporated and from your yearbook. Anytime I see anything that you have done, I know it's going to be of greatest quality. So thanks so much for sharing your story with us.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah. Stay tuned. We have much more to come on Mid Mornings on Main on this Tuesday. It's the 14th day of December. The holiday is just upon us. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Confession.